This is random news. Most of you won't care about it, but random news. I'm a big fan of Young Spray's RTM podcast. I've been a big fan of Young Spray, the rapper, since way back, right? Way back. Mixtape days and shit. Really, really good. Very, very talented rapper. I think. It's a shame he doesn't put out much music nowadays, but I understand because he's probably doing very well with podcasting. But something really sad happened recently. Pinky Notes, this guy here on the left hand side, unfortunately decided to leave and no longer be a part of RTM podcast. I think another person as well also left. But essentially what came out of this conversation of Pinky Notes leaving was that Young Spray doesn't pay his co-host. And I was baffled by that, because if you go on the RTM podcast, right, like if you go on the channel right now, and again, not a pocket watch, right, but let's just be completely honest about this shit, right? If you go on the RTM podcast channel right now, and maybe I don't know, maybe he could say this channel was. Let me go on. Actually, no. Before I continue, let me just do this properly. If you go on the channel and you click on the videos, you'll see videos on here with like I don't know. There's loads of videos on here with like thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of views, the full episodes and stuff. So he's making. I'd say, if I had to say a rough guess, I'd say probably Young Spray probably most likely is clearing easily, right, $5 a month on this podcast. $5 a month easy. I personally think so. So I don't understand why someone that's making $5 a month for a show that doesn't only revolve around him. Obviously Young Spray is the main draw, but the show's not only about him, it's about the other cast members on there. And again, remember, these people are co-hosts, right? Pinky Notes, Chronic, these people are co-hosts. I think they also have a girl who they rotate in and out differently, but usually the co-hosts are like these two, right? With Young Spray. So there's 3 people on the show. He can't break them off even £100. You can't break them off a couple bills. Like you can't just cover their fucking Ubers and shit. Like, what do you pay them in? Weed and fucking Magnums. Like, I really don't understand why a lot of these like urban based, and I'm calling it urban because that's the only way to just generally describe them. What is it with like people that look like me who do this type of stuff who don't want to pay their friends? I don't understand this. It's really troubling because, and it's disappointing also because this space is probably one of the only spaces that's allowing like very rough around the edges people who probably couldn't operate in corporate media, who probably couldn't, you know, be successful maybe in other lanes, to get some success doing this sort of stuff, right? It's actually helping people, and it's allowing people to go from like heroes to fucking, you know, from zeros to heroes, for lack of a better term, or to reinvent themselves. Young Spray probably giving them another lease of life and shit, right? Because maybe the music thing wasn't popping as much as it was for this sort of stuff. So you'd think with that ability to kind of, you know, create that kind of wealth for yourself, that you want to share it out a bit, you want to, you know, spread the wealth, and forget even that, just accurately compensate people who are obviously contributing to the success of your show. I'm going to talk about it later as well. The Joe Budden podcast had a really good interview, or like Joe Budden was featured on the New York Times speaking about his podcast and shit. And it was good to know from that interview that Joe Budden does pay his guests pretty well. I think I think they said he has like a $1.5 million salary or something, right? Or payroll, sorry. So on average, everyone kind of gets like $200K each, which is a pretty good deal to do a Joe Budden podcast, right? And I'm sure they get more on extra on top if they do probably the Patreon and all this other stuff. But it's really disappointing to know that someone that's got a podcast like Young Spray's is not willing to pay his friends. And I don't understand the logic behind it or the thinking behind it. I'd love to understand why. I'd love to ask someone like that, like, why don't you pay your friends? I understand, obviously, the initial knee-jerk response would be, you don't pay your friends because you want to keep the money for yourself. But don't you feel bad? Like, don't you feel a little bit bad to have your friends come into your pod? I don't know how much he records, maybe twice a week, 3 times a week, to go and travel to your recording. And you'd imagine if you're on camera too, you have to buy different outfits. If you're on camera, you have to obviously, you know, grooming wise, haircuts and shit. Maybe get a little drink, get a little smoke. It's gonna add up. So these guys are probably spending a decent amount of money every day. I'd imagine probably, like, especially with London prices, I'd imagine they're probably spending a minimum of £100 every time they leave their house, when you account for outfits, haircuts and shit. And he's not giving them anything. No money whatsoever. Zero. Like, I really don't understand that. It's really, really, really strange why a lot of these urban-based podcasts don't pay people. And I find it even stranger because a lot of these people come from the music industry. So they've been in music, they got scummed in music, they got dealt a bad hand, 360 deals, all that malarkey. they obviously go over to podcasting and, oh shit, I can do this new thing. I can interview people. I can get a lot more traction this way. In Joe Budden's way, he kind of, it changes perception of what people thought of him and stuff, and maybe garners you more success than you'd ever see in music, and actually gives you the ability to like make a lot of money, right, without having to have labels and all this sort of stuff involved and shady contracts and shit. You'd think going into that new field, you'd want to like change stuff. You want to be the agent of change and be like, okay, cool, I got fucked over last time doing this. I'm going to make sure no one has to go through what I went through. But no, they don't. They just perpetuate the same things, you know? That's a really sad thing. They just keep perpetuating the same things. And I don't know why this is. It's really disappointing to hear. But Pinky Nuts has left. I'm sure it won't be the last person leaving. And I think, you know, Young Spray is probably underestimating how much these other co-hosts contribute to the show. Yes, I'm sure the show will continue to be successful, and he's obviously mostly the main draw, but I really do think it's important to, I don't know, man, compensate your friends, accurately pay them. Like, I'm a big believer in paying your friends, especially when it comes to like favors and shit, right? Your friend's got a van, your friend's a carpenter, your friend's an electrician. Like, forget all this, I'm gonna pay you with a meal, I'm gonna pay you with drinks. Your friend's a photographer. No, pay them. Whatever their rate is, pay them. You know what I mean? That's what you should do. If your mate wants to give you mates rates, that's one thing. But this idea of like not paying your friends, not giving them monetary fucking compensation because they're your friend, is a real piss take. It's a real liberty taker, and it's disappointing this is happening because there's probably other podcasters out there that pay their guests. You know what I mean? I'm sure there is. There's podcasts out there that probably pay guests to come on their show, but this man won't pay his co-host. Like, it's fucking insane. It's not like he's not making no money. If you're just starting up, yeah, fair enough. You know, you're kind of building to get somewhere. But this guy's probably clearing like 5K a month, and you can't pay your guest. You can't give them a couple bags just to kind of, you know, hold them down, just to kind of cover travel expenses at least, so they can go back and forth in Ubers and shit, don't take the train. I don't know. But anyway, Godspeed to Pinky Notes, and let's hope that it works out for these guys. Let's hope that it works out for these guys.